WreckTalk, keep the D and I'm a 10 king. Georgia Tech in his blood, hear the anthem sing. Taking job collars down, high level pool noodle. Idiotic, ooh and seafood, yeah, we all can concur. I hope FSU don't sue me for this song. Immigrant and right was into the future so long. The SEC and Big Ten don't want you. And now fruits like oranges in a bowl haunt you. Miracle on Tap, with miracle on North Ave. A miracle is what you're gonna need. Tallahassee much too trashy, the Seminole criminal. What happened to the crab legs Jameis stole? C-Dog direct, letting people on YouTube know where the UNC defense is about to go. Up with the white and gold, the future is ours to behold. I don't know, but I've been told Miami's back, we're taking me. Now wait another 20 years. WreckTalk, the greatest of his time. Shop collars, dodging cage fight, scared out of his mind. Marching forward, fighting strong, loud and proud. Jackets forming, kicking ass, hear a shout it loud.
Well, I'm a little late to the party. I actually recorded live. You know, my kid's been sick today. I've been running around dealing with it and then trying to get some stuff done on the side. First and foremost, Florida State fans, you're a bunch of crybabies and copium idiots. We're going to get to you in a second. Boy, are they coping right now, too. I got a preseason accolade for the city of Tallahassee. But can we first talk about how, from a production standpoint, On3 couldn't have boggled that any further? Like, I'm not even going to upload the reaction because they screwed it up. The guy's just in the middle of talking, and then all of a sudden it says, it cuts him off. Oh, Josh Petty to Georgia Tech. Before he even walks out and picks up the hat and put it on. I mean, someone at On3 needs to be fired because make no mistake, this wasn't about Georgia Tech, what it means for Georgia Tech. This was about me and what it means for me to react to it. And they completely screwed the pooch on that front. I'll be reaching out to On3 soon. If you don't believe me, I'll link the announcement or commitment video in the description. Go watch it. It's like the most schizophrenic, disjointed thing ever. Setting that aside, Josh Petty, arguably the first 5-star Georgia Tech's ever landed. He's not a 5-star on some services. He is on others. Calvin Johnson, I guess, was a 5-star on some services, not on others. Either way, huge get for Georgia Tech. Huge statement for Georgia Tech, right? People have been sleeping on Brent Key as far as a recruiter. Ask Alabama, how good this guy was at recruiting offensive linemen. When Brent Key was the offensive lineman coach at Alabama, it's the best offensive lines they've ever had. Ask Law Tide or Kangaroo Black or any of those guys. I'm sure they'll tell you the same thing. Brent Key can recruit. I saw something on, someone tweeted this. Brent Key is the coach and recruiter that you thought Jeff Collins was, right? And boy, I talked with C-Dog today. Just like it's almost like the Shawshank Redemption. I can hear Morgan Freeman in, wrecking C-Dog, climb through 500 yards of shit just to sign a 5-star on the other side. Man, we've been through the ringer. We went through the Jeff Collins years. Brent Key takes over as interim, turns things around immediately, has kind of a disappointing recruiting class, or not kind of, does, but his interim year, then his first full year, he's getting things into swing. And what did Rec tell you? Anyone that's been watching WreckTalk, I've been saying for over a year, 2025 is where you see the way this staff is built and the things Brent Key is doing, the things that Jay Batt, our athletic director, are doing pay dividends, and then we land a 5-star. Am I a genius or what? Did I call it or what? Now to you Florida State fans. Y'all think you're king shit for whatever reason. You've had one good year in the past 7, okay? You're not, aside from that 1 year, you're not really any different than Georgia Tech. You're not. You went 3-9 as well in there. And then I listened to your podcast because I'm so smart that it's hard to, communicate with people. So I need to dumb myself down a little so that I can be sociable, so I watched the Florida State podcast. And y'all think you're better than Clemson. And I'm not talking about right now. I mean, over the past decade. If there is a king shit in the ACC, it's Clemson. When you win another national title, or you win back-to-back titles, or not back-to-back, but titles within 2 titles in a 5-year span, and you have 2 generational quarterbacks, then you can say something. Someone, I tweeted this, Josh Petty to Georgia Tech, huge for Georgia Tech. And then the cope comes out. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Let's go to my notifications here. Oh, here it is. Georgia fans complimenting me. They think it's hilarious. Portal Mike. Boys land 1 recruit and think they are gods. No? Speaking of someone doing something once and thinking they're gods, you're talking about Florida State. You have 1 good year, think you own the ACC. Now you're sniffing the crotch of the Big 12. Oh, before June, we're going to the SEC or Big 10. And then the SEC commissioner comes out and is like, we're not interested. And then you get mad at him, like not just fans, like your administration makes a statement about it. Then you start sniffing the crotch of the Big 12. Then you start losing recruiting battles to Georgia Tech. What are you doing? Peyton here says, Georgia Tech talking clown. Haven't been relevant for 30 years. Let me ask you something about not being relevant for 30 years. Why'd he choose us then? If we're just this completely irrelevant program, why is Georgia Tech beating Florida State for a 5-star? Don't act like you didn't want them, because you did. And if you go look in the live chat of that announcement video or commitment video, before he commits, I knew he was committing to Georgia Tech. I said, go ahead and get your cope ready. They didn't listen. If Georgia Tech's so irrelevant, why does he pick us over you? Why does he pick Georgia Tech? Probably because Bert Kreischer graduated from Florida State, and he didn't want to be associated with that drunken guy who calls himself a comedian idiot that's been saying the same story for 20 years now about being a party animal and going to Russia and being called the machine. That guy got a degree from from Florida State. That guy got a degree from Florida State. Why anyone would want to be associated with that school, have no idea. Now, preseason accolade now for Crybaby of the Year goes to Florida State. We put this up here, and up here it shall remain, right on my Blink 182 album. That'll do. Florida State Seminoles Crybabies of the Year. You're going to come out, look, I did predict y'all to beat us, but it's going to be hilarious if we do. And there's a very good shot we do. I'm just telling you. DJU might be the worst quarterback in the ACC. We'll have to end up seeing. But whatever. Let's set Florida State aside for a second. What this means for Georgia Tech. Since Brent Key's taken over at Georgia Tech, we've seen things happening that haven't happened before at Georgia Tech. Commitment, as financial commitment, right? We have the highest paid staff we've ever had. I'm sure even if you adjust for inflation, that's true. You make Buster Faulkner the first $1 million coordinator. You keep Buster Faulkner, which I'm sure has something to do with getting Petty over. Georgia Tech's winning recruiting battles with Georgia all of a sudden. It looks like Georgia Tech is going to flip a 4-star defensive lineman from Georgia. And I'm sure Georgia fans will tell you, oh, well, we didn't want him, we rescinded his offer, whatever. I don't know too many schools that are going to turn down a 4-star defensive lineman, just being honest with you. You're saying you don't want a 4-star defensive lineman? Okay, look, Brent Key's beating down the recruiting trails. Brent Key's turning Georgia Tech into the school that Tech fans know they can be, It's sad because, look, I'm in my 30s. I'm a man. I'm in my 30s. So I remember the tail end of the Hamilton and the Godsey years and what Tech was then. And this isn't a video to trash Paul Johnson. I talked with C-Dog about it, but then we go through the triple option period, which no matter what Tech fans think of that, from an optic standpoint was rough. to be a Georgia Tech fan. You get out of the triple option. We're excited. Okay, we're going to run a conventional offense. So if you're doing YouTube for Georgia Tech, you don't have to be laughed at for that. And then you get Jeff Collins. I mean, so you've gone through, at a minimum, 5 years of the worst Georgia Tech's ever been. All right? And then you get Brent Key. And everyone said he was a lazy hire. And I got to call out Bryce Kuhn. He was one of them. Bryce Kuhn was one of them that said, Brent Key, is this a lazy hire? Where do you think Georgia Tech is in 5 to 7 years? And I said at the time, and we've done things with Bryce Kuhn. I don't have any issues with Bryce Kuhn. But I responded to that video and said, who do you think Tech's going to hire that's going to be some national powerhouse in 5 to 7 years that isn't named Nick Saban, that isn't named Dabo Swinney, or whoever, right? Mike Elko. Yeah, I'm purposely leaving one off the list. Yeah, kiss my ass for that. But yeah, Brent Key it's looking like the perfect hire for Georgia Tech. He's doing, the guy that I didn't name purposefully, what Kirby did at Georgia the minute he got there. He's building his team from the offensive line out. Now he needs to start building it from the defensive line out on the defensive side. People laughed at me when I said Georgia Tech, go back and look at the receipts, is shaping up to be offensive line U. People laughed at me. Oh, Jordan, no one cares about Georgia Tech. Let me tell you something. No one cares about academics. This guy cares about Georgia Tech. This guy cares about academics. He's a 5-star. Meanwhile, you got Florida State fans having to cope over it because they're catching nothing but L's. Nothing but L's. They were delusional enough to think they're going to get out of the conference and the grant of rights, in 2 seconds. They lose to Georgia Tech out on a 5-star. Now they're about to lose to Georgia Tech on another continent. You're going to take losses in every continent in the world here trying to duke it out with Georgia Tech. Is what it is. So I'm excited. I honestly, when I said there's a lot of people in the Tech fan base that just thought we had to settle for kind of crappy recruiting classes, I was kind of in that camp. Now, I still do think when you have calculus as a requirement for every major, it's just a fact that that's going to create some sort of obstacle for recruiting that 99% of schools don't have. However, that doesn't mean you just have to settle for recruiting 60th either. I didn't think we'd sign a 5-star, within the next 10 years. I didn't think, C-Dog kind of said my sentiment of it's just nice that we're in the conversation for a 5-star. That's something that hasn't. When was the last time we were in conversation for a 5-star? I can't remember, serious consideration. Then you land them, and you land them from the team that you open up week 0 with. That's huge. That's huge. Georgia Tech, something special's going on in Atlanta. I'm telling you. Told you guys 2025 was a class that pays dividends. Told you Brent Key